My mom demanded I give my paid-off townhouse to my sister because you're child-free anyway. What I discovered next sent her to prison. Hey friends. Got a sec? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. It's quick for you, but it really means a lot to us. Alright, let's dive into today's story. Original post. I never thought I'd be writing one of these, but I need to know if I'm losing my mind here. I'm Nathan, 30M, and my family is currently imploding because I won't give my townhouse to my younger sister Jessica, 26F. Let me start with some background. My parents divorced when I was 12 and Jessica was 8. Dad moved across the country for work and gradually faded from our lives. Child support came sporadically, visits became phone calls became birthday cards, and eventually even those stopped. Mom, Helen, 56F, did her best, but money was always tight. I watched Mom struggle and decided early on that I'd never be in that position. While Jessica partied through high school, I studied. While she dropped out of community college twice, I worked 2 jobs to pay for my degree in accounting. When she got pregnant at 19 by a guy she'd known for 3 months, I was living on ramen and saving every penny for a house down payment. I'm not saying this to be harsh, Jessica's had it rough. 3 kids by 26, 2 different fathers who've both vanished, and she's been living in Mom's basement for the past 2 years. Her ex-husband, Brandon, has a restraining order against him after a domestic incident last year. She works part-time at a daycare, which barely covers her expenses. 2 years ago, I bought my townhouse. It's nothing fancy, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a decent school district. I'd saved for 8 years, working 60-hour weeks, skipping vacations, driving the same beat-up Honda since college. The day I got the keys was one of the proudest moments of my life. Last Sunday, Mom invited me over for dinner. I should have known something was up when she made my favorite meal. After dessert, she sat me down with this serious expression and said, "Nathan, we need to talk about your living situation." I thought maybe she was going to ask to move in with me. But no, she wanted me to sign my townhouse over to Jessica. Her exact words, "Jessica's children need stability. They need a real home, not a basement. You're young, single, no kids, you can easily get an apartment. But those babies need a yard, their own rooms, a good school. You'd be giving them a future." I sat there stunned while Mom laid out her plan. I'd move back home temporarily, save up for another place. Jessica would take over the mortgage payments once she got on her feet. Mom had even researched how to do a quitclaim deed transfer. When I finally found my voice, I asked, "Are you seriously asking me to give away the house I worked for almost a decade to buy?" Mom's response, "It's not giving it away. It's investing in your family. Jessica didn't have the opportunities you did. She had children young. She's doing her best." I pointed out that Jessica had the same opportunities. She just made different choices. Mom accused me of being selfish, of punishing Jessica for mistakes she made as a teenager. She said I'd become cold, materialistic, that Dad's selfishness had rubbed off on me despite his absence. That stung. I've sent Mom money every month since I graduated. I babysit Jessica's kids regularly. I paid for her car repairs last year, bought all the kids' school supplies, covered Mom's property taxes when she fell behind. But apparently, keeping the home I bought makes me selfish. I left without agreeing to anything. Since then, I've received 17 texts from Mom about family responsibility, multiple Facebook posts that she thinks I can't see about children who forget where they came from, a long email from Jessica about how her kids cry themselves to sleep in the basement, calls from 3 different relatives telling me to do the right thing. Mom's sister, Aunt Patricia, called me heartless. My cousin Michelle said I'm the reason Jessica's kids will grow up in poverty. Mom's best friend, Carol, who's known me since I was 5, told me she's disappointed in the man I've become. The thing is, I get it. Jessica's situation is hard. The kids are innocent in all this. 7-year-old Emma, 5-year-old Michael, and 3-year-old Olivia don't deserve to suffer because of their parents' choices. But how is it my responsibility to give up my home? I've worked since I was 14. Every decision I've made has been careful, calculated, responsible. No kids until I'm financially stable. No house until I had 20% down. No vacations I couldn't afford. Meanwhile, Jessica dated losers, partied away her opportunities, and had kids with men who wouldn't stick around. But when I express this, I'm told I'm victim-blaming. That I don't understand how hard single motherhood is. That I'm privileged because I didn't have children young. As if my current stability isn't the direct result of a decade of sacrifice and careful planning. Am I really being selfish here? Should family obligation extend to giving up your home? I feel like I'm going crazy. Everyone except my best friend thinks I'm a monster. Even my girlfriend, Sarah, said she understands where Mom is coming from, though she doesn't think I should give up the house entirely. Maybe just let Jessica live there for a while. The guilt is eating me alive. I drive past Jessica's kids' daycare and imagine them in my yard, having their own rooms, going to the good elementary school nearby. Then I remember the years of overtime, the skipped meals, the nights I studied until 3 a.m. while working full-time, and I get angry all over again. What would you do? Update 1, 3 days later. I wasn't planning to update so soon, but something happened that's changed everything. After reading your comments, thank you to everyone who responded, I decided to stand firm. Many of you pointed out red flags I hadn't considered, particularly about the mortgage transfer and Jessica's history of financial responsibility. I texted Mom that my decision was final. I would not be giving Jessica my house. The family explosion was immediate. Mom called me crying, saying I'd condemned her grandchildren to poverty. Jessica sent a voice message calling me names I won't repeat here. Aunt Patricia posted on Facebook about family members who value property over blood. It was brutal, but I held firm. Then yesterday, everything shifted. My neighbor, Richard, texted me around 10 a.m. He's retired military, very observant, keeps an eye on the neighborhood. His message, saw someone at your house. Thought you should know. I was at work, so I asked him to describe the person. Tall guy, around 30, driving a black pickup truck. My blood went cold. That sounded like Brandon, Jessica's ex with a restraining order. I immediately left work and drove home. Sure enough, there was a black pickup in my driveway. But what I saw next made my jaw drop. Jessica was carrying boxes from the truck into MY house. Through MY front door. Using a key. I parked down the street and called the police, then approached carefully. Through the window, I could see Jessica and Brandon moving furniture into my living room. My furniture was being stacked in the garage. When the police arrived, Jessica tried to play it cool. She told them she was house-sitting for her brother. She had a key, which I'd given her for emergencies 2 months ago and forgotten about. Brandon stayed silent, knowing he was violating the restraining order by being near Jessica. I showed the officers my deed, my ID, explained the situation. Jessica broke down crying, claiming I'd promised her the house and was now backing out. She said she'd already told the kids they were moving, had enrolled them in the local school, had even forwarded her mail. The officers made them leave and told Jessica she needed to return the key. Brandon was arrested for violating the restraining order. Turns out it was still active, despite Jessica's claims they were working things out. But here's where it gets worse. While Jessica was crying to the police, she let slip that Mom had told her I'd already agreed to the transfer. That Mom had said I was just being dramatic but would come around. Jessica genuinely thought I'd eventually cave and had decided to speed up the process. After they left, I went inside to assess the damage. They'd already painted over my living room walls. The color I'd spent a weekend choosing was now covered in bright pink. They'd ripped out my carefully installed shelving in the kids' intended rooms. My home office had been turned into a nursery, my desk and computer equipment piled carelessly in the garage. I called a locksmith immediately and had all the locks changed. Then I called Mom. The conversation was illuminating. Mom admitted she'd told Jessica the house was basically hers. She'd been so confident I'd caved to family pressure that she'd encouraged Jessica to start planning the move. When I asked about Brandon, Mom said Jessica deserved a second chance at love, that Brandon had changed, that the restraining order was just Jessica being dramatic during a rough patch. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The restraining order was from when Brandon shoved Jessica down the stairs while she was holding baby Olivia. The man is dangerous, and Mom was facilitating their reunion. I told Mom she was no longer welcome at my house. That I was done being the family ATM. That enabling Jessica's poor choices was going to get someone hurt. Mom called me cruel, said Dad's abandonment had turned me cold, that I'd regret this when she was gone. I hung up. Last night, I got a call from the kids' school. Jessica had listed me as an emergency contact when she enrolled them, and they needed to verify information. I explained the situation, and they thanked me for the clarification. Apparently, Jessica had told them she was the homeowner and I was a roommate who was moving out. Today, I'm getting security cameras installed and meeting with a lawyer about a cease and desist order. I'm also compiling receipts for all the money I've given Mom and Jessica over the years. It totals more than $30,000. The family harassment has intensified. I'm getting called everything from heartless to evil. Aunt Patricia drove by my house and yelled at me from her car. Mom's friend Carol left a voicemail saying she hopes I never have children because I'd be a terrible father. But something interesting, Dad reached out. Apparently, Aunt Patricia posted enough on Facebook that it reached his side of the family. He called me last night, first time in 3 years. He said he was proud of me for standing my ground, that he'd left partly because of Mom's enabling of Jessica even as a child, and her constant financial manipulation. He offered to help with legal fees if needed. I'm not sure how to feel about that. But right now, I'm focused on protecting my home and setting boundaries. Your comments helped me realize this isn't about a house. It's about a pattern of entitlement and manipulation that's been going on for years. Update 2, 1 week later. The situation has exploded into something I never could have imagined. After my last update, I thought things couldn't get more insane. I was wrong. I'm actually sitting here with my laptop trying to process what's been uncovered, and I need to document this while it's fresh. Following the attempted house takeover, I hired a lawyer, Jennifer Chen, who specializes in family law and fraud cases. She advised me to do a full financial review of my family relationships and document everything. That's when things started unraveling. First, the security cameras I installed picked up something interesting. Mom has been driving by my house multiple times a day. But more concerning, she was photographing my house and taking notes. My neighbor Richard mentioned she'd asked him about my work schedule and whether Sarah stayed over often. Then, 3 days ago, I got a call from Child Protective Services. Someone had reported that I was allowing children to live in unsafe conditions in my basement. The report claimed I was Jessica's landlord and refusing to fix mold issues that were making the children sick. CPS needed to investigate. Thankfully, the investigator, Ms. Thompson, was professional and quickly realized the report was false. But she did share something interesting. This was the third report about Jessica's children in 2 months, all from different sources, all with contradictory information. That evening, my lawyer called with urgent news. She'd been doing background research and discovered something shocking. Jessica has been collecting child support from 3 different men for the same children. Here's how the scheme worked. Emma's biological father, James, pays $400 per month in court-ordered child support. Michael's father, Robert, pays $350 per month. But here's the kicker. Jessica has been collecting $500 per month from a third man, David, claiming he's Olivia's father. The problem? David lives in another state and has been paying voluntarily based on Jessica's word. He's never met Olivia, never had a paternity test, and Jessica met him during a work conference when she was already 6 months pregnant. But wait, it gets worse. Jennifer discovered that Mom has been helping Jessica maintain this fraud. Mom has a separate bank account where David's payments go, which he then transfers to Jessica in small amounts to avoid detection. They've been doing this for 3 years. Additionally, Jessica has been receiving a full welfare benefits claiming 0 child support, a food stamps for a household of 4, a subsidized child care vouchers, the emergency family assistance funds from 3 different churches. Mom drives her to different churches on rotation. The total? Jessica and Mom have been collecting nearly $4,000 per month in various forms of support while claiming poverty. When Jennifer explained the legal ramifications of this, fraud, perjury, conspiracy, I felt sick. But she said it was crucial I knew before they tried to escalate further. And escalate they did. 2 days ago, I received a letter from a lawyer. Jessica was suing me for unlawful eviction and breach of verbal contract. She claimed I'd agreed to give her the house and she'd suffered damages for my reneging on the agreement. She wanted the house or $200,000 in damages. Her lawyer, it turns out, is Mom's friend Carol's son, fresh out of law school and apparently unaware of the full situation. Jennifer called him, laid out what we discovered, and suggested he might want to verify his client's claims before proceeding. He dropped the case within hours. But the real bombshell came yesterday. Brandon's ex-wife, Melissa, reached out to me through Facebook. She'd heard about the drama through mutual friends and wanted to warn me. Brandon and Jessica have been together the entire time. The restraining order was a scam. Here's their con. Jessica gets the restraining order after a staged incident. This allows her to claim single mother status for maximum benefits. Brandon lives with his mother, officially, but spends every night at Mom's house with Jessica. The restraining order also prevents courts from forcing Brandon to pay child support for Michael, his actual biological son, because contact would violate the order. Melissa knows because Brandon tried the same scam with her years ago. She has documentation, text messages, even recordings of Brandon bragging about gaming the system. She's been trying to report it for years, but no one believed her because Brandon and Jessica are such convincing victims. Last night, I had a family Zoom call with Dad's side of the family, people I haven't spoken to in years. They shared their own stories about Mom and Jessica. Apparently, this behavior goes back decades. Mom has been running various scams since before the divorce. Fake charity collections, staged accidents for insurance money, even selling the same car to multiple people and claiming it was stolen. Dad didn't abandon us. He left after Mom tried to frame him for domestic violence to get a better divorce settlement. He has documentation of her threats to ruin his life if he didn't give her everything. He fought for custody, but Mom convinced everyone he was dangerous. He gave up after going bankrupt from legal fees. Uncle Christopher, Dad's brother, told me about a time Mom tried to sue him for a fake injury on his property. Cousin Anthony shared how Jessica had stolen his identity to open credit cards when she was 19. The family had been watching this drama unfold on Facebook, horrified but unsurprised. This morning, Jennifer called with advice: document everything but don't engage further. Let authorities handle the fraud investigation. Protect myself and my assets. Consider a restraining order if the harassment continues. But here's the twist. 2 hours ago, Jessica called me crying. Really crying, not manipulation crying. Brandon had been arrested again, this time for assaulting his mother when she refused to give him money. With him locked up and facing serious charges, Jessica was scared. She admitted everything. The restraining order scam. The child support fraud. Mom's involvement in all of it. She's been trapped in this cycle of mom schemes since she was a teenager. Mom convinced her to get pregnant the first time, promising they'd get more benefits. Every bad decision Jessica made was with Mom pulling the strings, promising it would work out, that they'd be taken care of. She said something that hit me: "You got out, Nathan. You were smart enough to see through her manipulation and strong enough to resist. I never was. And now I don't know how to exist without the scams, without her control." I told Jessica I couldn't help her anymore, but I'd pay for a consultation with a lawyer if she wanted to come clean and get away from Mom. She said she'd think about it. An hour ago, Mom showed up at my house, screaming through the door. I didn't open it. The cameras captured her admitting to the frauds, saying I owed them because I'd escaped the family struggle. She said if I reported them, she'd tell everyone I'd abused Jessica's kids. That she'd make sure I never worked in this town again. That she'd destroy Sarah's reputation too. I called the police. She was arrested for trespassing and making threats. I'm sitting here now, in my home that I worked so hard for, realizing my entire family structure was built on lies and manipulation. The woman who raised me is a career criminal who turned my sister into her accomplice. The father I thought abandoned us was actually driven away. The family that's been calling me selfish are either enablers or victims themselves. Sarah's been incredible through this. She helped me organize all the documentation, has been staying with me for safety, and her brother, a cop, has been advising us on security measures. She said something profound last night: "Your real achievement isn't buying this house, Nathan. It's being the only one to break the cycle." Tomorrow, I meet with Jennifer to discuss next steps. We're filing reports with the appropriate agencies about the fraud. I'm also getting a restraining order against Mom and possibly Jessica, depending on what she decides. I'll update when there's more to share. For now, I'm just trying to process the fact that my entire life story, the struggle, the abandonment, the guilt, was all manufactured by a master manipulator who happened to be my mother. Final update, 2 weeks later. This will be my last update on this situation. The past 2 weeks have been a whirlwind of legal proceedings, family revelations, and ultimately, resolution. After my last post, things moved quickly. The evidence I'd compiled with Jennifer was overwhelming. We submitted reports to the District Attorney's Office for Fraud Investigation, a Child Protective Services for the Children's Welfare, the IRS for tax fraud, 3 different state welfare departments. The investigation moved faster than expected because, as it turns out, Mom and Jessica were already on radar for suspicious activity. 3 different churches had compared notes and reported them. David, the man Jessica was scamming for child support, had recently hired a private investigator who'd uncovered the truth. Even the welfare office had flagged irregularities. Here's what's happened. Criminal charges. Mom has been charged with a welfare fraud, felony, a tax evasion, a conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft. They found evidence of other victims, making terroristic threats from her recorded rant at my house. Jessica has been charged with a welfare fraud, a filing false police reports, the fake restraining order, a custodial interference for hiding the children from legitimate fathers, child support fraud. Both are out on bail, awaiting trial. Mom's looking at serious prison time, possibly 5 to 10 years given the scope and duration of the fraud. Jessica faces 2 to 5 years but might get probation if she cooperates. The children. This was my biggest concern. CPS did a full investigation, and while the kids weren't physically abused, they were living in terrible conditions. The basement had black mold, ironically, making the false CPS report partially true. The children were being coached to lie about their living situation, and Emma, the oldest, was showing signs of severe anxiety from keeping family secrets. James, Emma's biological father, has been fighting for custody for years, but Jessica always disappeared when court dates came up. He now has temporary custody of Emma. Robert, Michael's father, was located in another state. He didn't even know Michael existed. Jessica had used a fake name with him. He's establishing paternity and wants to be involved. David, who'd been paying for Olivia, isn't her biological father as suspected. But in an unexpected twist, he still wants to help. He started a small trust fund for Olivia's education, saying no child should suffer for their parents' crimes. Brandon's mother, Linda, has stepped up. Despite everything with Brandon, she's petitioned for temporary custody of Michael and Olivia, since Brandon is Michael's father and Robert needs time to establish his situation. She's a good woman who's been trying to help Jessica escape Brandon for years. Jessica's decision. After Brandon was arrested, Jessica finally broke. She agreed to cooperate with authorities in exchange for a plea deal. She's in therapy now, paid for by a victim's assistance program. She told me she's relieved it's over, that living in constant fear of being caught was destroying her. She admitted that Mom had been controlling her since childhood, that every major decision in her life was orchestrated by Mom for financial gain. The pregnancies, the men she dated, even dropping out of college, all Mom's ideas to maximize government assistance and child support. In a strange way, I feel sorry for her. She never had a chance to be her own person. Mom's reaction. Mom has cut off all contact with me, which is honestly a relief. But I've heard from other family members that she's spinning wild stories about being set up, about me planting evidence, about Jessica lying to save herself. Aunt Patricia finally saw the truth when the evidence became public. She called me sobbing, apologizing for not seeing it sooner. She admitted Mom had borrowed over $50,000 from her over the years for various emergencies that she now realizes were lies. Dad's involvement. Dad has been supportive throughout this. He flew in to meet with me and we had a long conversation about everything. He showed me court documents from the divorce. Mom had accused him of abuse, claimed he was hiding assets, even suggested he'd inappropriately touched Jessica, completely fabricated. He said the hardest part was knowing she was poisoning us against him but being unable to fight it without looking like the bitter ex-husband. He remarried 5 years ago, has 2 young sons, and has built a good life. He invited me to visit, to meet my half-brothers. It's complicated, but we're working on rebuilding something. My house, the damage Jessica and Brandon did, has been repaired. Insurance covered most of it after I filed a vandalism claim. I've actually made some improvements, better security system, reinforced doors, converting the garage into a proper home gym. The neighborhood drama has died down. Richard, my neighbor, told me he suspected something was off when Mom kept asking questions but didn't want to get involved in family drama. He's been keeping an eye out, giving me peace of mind. Moving forward, Sarah and I are stronger than ever. Watching her support me through this showed me what real family looks like. People who stand by you because they choose to, not because they want something. We're actually planning to get engaged soon. Her family has embraced me completely. Her mother, Sharon, said something that stuck with me. Family isn't about blood, Nathan. It's about who shows up when life gets hard. I'm in therapy now, working through decades of manipulation and guilt. My therapist says I show signs of complex PTSD from growing up in such a toxic environment. It's hard work, but I'm finally understanding that my success isn't selfishness, it's survival. I've also connected with other survivors of family financial abuse through a support group. Hearing their stories has helped me realize how common this is, how many people get trapped in these cycles of manipulation and exploitation. The aftermath. The investigation revealed Mom and Jessica had defrauded various agencies and individuals of over $200,000 over the past decade. Mom had even taken out credit cards in my name when I was in college, which I'm now having to dispute. Several of Mom's flying monkeys have reached out to apologize. Carol's son, the lawyer, was horrified when he learned the truth and personally apologized for taking the case without due diligence. He's actually been helpful in connecting me with resources for fraud victims. The kids are doing better. Emma is in therapy and thriving with James. Michael and Olivia are adjusting to life with Linda. Jessica gets supervised visits for now. It's heartbreaking that it came to this, but those children finally have a chance at stable lives. Lessons learned. Looking back, the red flags were always there. The constant financial emergencies. The guilt-tripping about family obligation. The way Mom isolated us from Dad's family. How she always painted herself and Jessica as victims. The lack of accountability for any bad decision. I've learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. That helping family doesn't mean enabling destructive behavior. That sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is say no. To anyone dealing with similar situations, document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let guilt override your common sense. And remember, you're not responsible for other people's choices, even if they're family. My house is peaceful now. The locks are changed, the cameras are rolling, and for the first time in my life, I feel truly free. I worked hard for this life, and I'm not apologizing for protecting it anymore. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Your validation and advice gave me the strength to stand firm when everyone around me was saying I was wrong. You helped me see that I wasn't crazy, that my instincts were right. Sometimes, the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. And sometimes, cutting toxic people out of your life isn't giving up, it's growing up. This is Nathan, signing off. Time to live my life without the chaos.